You have people in your life who you just wouldn't be the person you are today were it not for their influence. Yes? You wouldn't be as courageous. You wouldn't have the vision. You wouldn't have the take the responsibility or accountability. You wouldn't be who you are today were it not for their influence. I mean, if we're honest, most of us don't have enough people like that in our lives. We have a few, or we have some that passed through our lives. Well, I met, almost 20 years ago, I met a monk. Now, my plan was not to meet a monk. It wasn't in my plans for that day. But somehow, some way, I met a monk. And he was brilliant, he was passionate, and he was human. And he loved to engage in your world, in your questions, in your pursuits, in what mattered to you. And he also loved to ask some incredible questions. He asked me questions like, what do you believe and why do you believe it? Not just about faith, but about leadership and finances and relationships, about marriage and parenting. We discussed some of life's biggest questions and some of what you might look at or think of as life's smallest questions. Before I was married, I would ask him about, how do you know? And it's a heck of a question, isn't it? Now I've got 2 young daughters, and I'll ask him, one of my daughters isn't really good at math. What do I do with that? And his perspective and his questions on all of these topics was profound. I wouldn't be who I am today were it not for his influence. And I've got people like that, and you've got people like that. And all of us, I think, could use another person like that. Well, one of the things that the monk said to me one day it was a quote from Catherine of Siena. He was part Italian. Actually, he was, I think, 100% Italian, Calabrese, which he said, that's Italy, really. The rest of Italy is not really Italy, but Calabria is. And he said, «Sì, chi Dio voleva che tu fossi incenderai il mondo». And it's funny because we picked on each other. And I said, wait a second, brother. Catherine of Siena, that's Tuscany, that's not Calabria. He said, yeah, but back then it was. But that expression, that Italian expression, «Sì, chi Dio voleva che tu fossi incenderai il mondo», means be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. One of the gifts that the monk gave me is the gift of moments like that I didn't see him every day. I didn't see him that often, actually, until one year, the last year of his life, he and I were working on a book together about conversations with a monk. And but most of the time, I'd see him every now and then, and I always wish I had more. But he would leave me with something like that would just sink its roots into my heart and mind and soul, and I would reflect on that. And Catherine of Siena, she didn't say, be who you feel like being. Be who the world wants you to be. And she didn't say you'd burn the world down either. She said you would set the world on fire. And I like to look at that as you will influence the people around you in such a positive way. «Sì, chi Dio voleva che tu fossi incenderai il mondo». I want to invite you to join me in a really unique experience, and we'll talk a little bit more about the monk and some of the things that he taught me. But really, we'll dig into 4 habits that have the potential to transform your life. And I'll be honest, we'll be talking about them together. I'm not a master at these 4. But the monk and a few other game-changing, life-changing experiences got me to start digging into these 4 habits. And they were 4 habits that I had never really intentionally looked at before. And I went through GE's leadership development program. I consulted for some of the biggest companies in the world, helping Ford Motor Company in their turnaround, helping some massive Fortune 100 companies change direction, coaching people in leadership roles, right? And, digging into habits of success. But these 4, profound. And somehow it seems for most of us, they've been ignored. And these 4 habits, they lead to more peace. They lead to more clarity. They lead to more passion in your life. They lead to a completely different level of connection, of relationship, of meaning, of humility, of courage. 4 habits. Who should attend this Set the World on Fire event? You. And I'll be honest with you, years ago, I would have sat in the back. That would have been me. Actually, I remember going to an event in a church one time from a keynote speaker, a lot like me, I guess, but he was a keynote speaker and author, and he was speaking at a church, and I thought, I don't really want to go to a church event. So I sat in the back, all the way in the back, near one of the doors. I actually did my homework. I looked to try to figure out which door I might be able to sneak out of without having to bump into anyone, working there, or any of the guards, if you will, near the doors. Who should come? You. Who should you invite? Probably your brother-in-law or sister-in-law. Probably one of your kids. Maybe your parents. Maybe one of your neighbors. See, these 4 habits affect everything. These 4 habits, they affect everything. Come join us at this Set the World on Fire event. And stay for the first 15 minutes. Just stay for the first 15 minutes and then make a decision. See, in the first 15 minutes, one thing I'll talk about is a professor I had in college. I was 18 years old, and I thought I knew everything. I graduated top of my class, summa cum laude, 3.9 something GPA. And as a freshman in college, I thought I knew everything. I was studying engineering. And this professor, he wrote me a letter of recommendation that you would not believe. And I didn't get the lesson from that letter of recommendation until quite a while later. But some of the people who walk into our lives, some of the people who help us become who we're capable of becoming, some of those people, the ripple effect of that interaction, we don't even start to feel it for weeks, months, years, maybe decades after that interaction. Come join me in this experience.